what you're going to learn in this video is how to actually claim your masculine power, how to actually behave as a man, not a boy, really feel it in your heart, really begin to feel that you're a man and take up space as a man in the world. And what this is going to do for you is that men who really own their masculine identity have the capacity to forge much stronger relationships with other men, and particularly with other strong men. It makes you feel trustable. Secondly, you're going to be able to forge an entirely different kind of relationship with women. When you're owning your masculine power, it's a huge, huge turn on to women. They notice immediately. And when you're behaving from this space, it's very arousing for them. And not only is it feel arousing, but it's not arousing in sort of a threatening, oh crap, he's being, this alpha man kind of guy, and I'm just in awe. It actually makes a woman feel more relaxed around you. It makes her feel comfortable and at ease, because she can feel that when a man is faking it, when he's trying to pretend that he's the man, but in fact he's struggling and grappling with the fact that maybe he's still a little boy, that's essentially untrustable, because you're going to flip-flop. It's not, she feels that there's something in there that's not true to who you are. And so you're going to find that women are much more attracted in a very relaxed way. Like, it's easier for them to be with you. It's easier for them to be sexual with you. It's easier for them to be attracted to you, because there's less work in it for them. There's less of a risk. And so the relationships that you have with women are going to be much cleaner and much juicier and sexier, because she's going to feel relaxed to be sexual with you. But more than that, it also creates a situation where she doesn't feel like she has to test you all the time. You're going to get fewer of those famous tests that women throw at us, which, as you know, can be kind of a pain in the ass, because what they're really trying to do is figure out whether or not we're authentic. And most men, quite frankly, aren't. And the other thing that this is going to do for you, if you really listen to this video and you follow the tips and techniques that I'm going to give you for really changing your life in this way, is that you're going to be more powerful in the world. You're going to be more powerful in your life. You're going to be able to accomplish more of the things that you really want to accomplish, and things that you've had difficulty accomplishing before, areas in your life where you may have felt like you don't dare because you might fail, or areas where you have in fact failed. These things are going to start to fall into line. It's going to be an entirely different sense of ability for you. So you're going to be more powerful. You're not going to be as marginalized. You're going to be able to take up more space. You're going to take more risks, and it's going to feel authentic. You're not going to feel like you're faking it and that you might get noticed and humiliated. So these are really, really powerful distinctions you can make in your life, sexually, in your relationships, and in anything that's of interest to you, career-wise, or goals that you may have. So the first thing that I want to underscore for you is that we have this sense that if we really act out as a man and we really own exactly what we want to do, we make decisions from our deepest truth, like we just do what we want and we don't worry about what other people think, that there's a good chance we're going to be humiliated or that something horrible is going to happen. And in fact, the opposite is true. So I want to begin with a little story. It's a pretty interesting story, and I've told it a number of times before, and it comes from my friend Owen Cook, who runs a company called Real Social Dynamics. And what he does is he takes men out and he teaches them how to get women in bars and clubs and that kind of thing. And he coaches them across a weekend. He takes a group of men out, and they pay thousands of dollars for this. And he shows them how to flirt and how to be, cool, basically, in bars and clubs and meet a bunch of women. And he's very, very good at it. He has a great track record. And he was telling me a story one day. He said as part of the service that he does with these men, one afternoon they go out shopping and he helps them get some cool clothing. And one day as a lark, he tried this experiment where he took this guy who was dressed kind of dorky in a way that most women wouldn't find very appealing. And he took him to this very cool clothing store, and they were walking around the store, and he said to the guy, hey, I'm curious, what do you think is cool? Like, walk around the store and find the coolest shirt, that you think is cool. I want to just see how off you are. And the guy walked around the store, and he grabbed a shirt, and he brought it up to Owen, and it turned out it was the coolest shirt in the store by far. And this guy really had a sense of what was cool. And it made Owen curious, and he ran this experiment a couple more times with a couple of more guys who seemed to have a totally clueless fashion sense. And unerringly, every single time, they would pull out what was really the coolest item of clothing in the store. He drew an interesting conclusion. I think it's a really good conclusion, which is these guys already knew what was cool, what would make them powerful, what would make them attractive to women. But they weren't wearing the clothing that would make them attractive to women because they were afraid that they couldn't pull it off. They knew in their heart they weren't actually that cool. So if some woman saw them wearing the cool guy shirt, knowing that he wasn't really the cool guy, she would make fun of him, or men would make fun of him. People would realize that he couldn't really pull it off, that he was faking it, that he was wearing the costume of a cool person when he really wasn't. And this is amplified in behaviors. And for most men, really stepping into masculine behaviors, really trusting their own decisions, is scary because we're afraid that if we act like we're a man, but everybody else knows that we're really just still a little boy, that we won't be able to pull it off, that people will make fun of us. Men will make fun of us, women will make fun of us. Who do you think you are? Is kind of the feeling that we get. And there could be a lot of embarrassment and humiliation and just general pain because people aren't going to accept us as the kind of adult and powerful person that we really want to be. So what's interesting, and the thing that I'm going to try and sell you on, the thing I really want you to believe by the end of this video, is that, in fact, it's just the opposite. That when you finally begin acting like the man that you know you could be, the man you wish you were, when you finally start acting that way and take on those behaviors and you take those risks and you bring that level of excellence to your life, you take yourself that seriously, what happens is the women in your life love it. Your female friends love it. It lets them relax around you. Your lovers, the women in your life who you're dating, or your wife, girlfriend, or women who you just approach at a Starbucks and strike up a conversation with, feel relaxed around you, and they feel comfortable to be sexual creatures with you. Not necessarily like it could be a female friend. She doesn't necessarily feel like she needs to suddenly jump your bones and have sex with you, but she feels she can be more sexual with you, that you're safe, that you're not going to do anything weird, and men will find you much, much more trustable. You think that they may make fun of you. You feel like they may in some way not accept this new version of you, but in fact, the opposite. You'll get overwhelmingly good results, and this is going to help you stay on the path because you're going to get a lot of positive reinforcement for it. So the first distinction that I want to give you, the thing that I think is really very powerful to give you access to what masculinity really looks like, to what masculine power actually looks like, because it's not, starting fights and being a macho prick. That's not masculine. That's generally insecure. Now, there are masculine men that, start fights and they're pricks, but more often than not, that's somebody who's insecure. But either way, it's not a true marker of masculine power. Here's what is: self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation of being a man. Actually owning your manhood, going from boy to man, is trusting yourself. And self-trust, just to really make a clean distinction about this, what self-trust looks like is it's the opposite of caring what other people think or trying to manage what other people think, manage their opinions of you. So every time you're considering what it is you really want to do, and maybe it's approach a woman in a bar, maybe it's seduce your girlfriend, she's watching TV and you want to make love and you want to talk her into that, maybe it's staking a certain claim at work. It could be almost anything. But you have this thing that you want to do, and before you do it, if you're like most human beings, you consider the possible outcomes and consequences. And when you start to consider what other people might think, when you consider, could this be embarrassing? Might this make me look bad? You try and manage what their expectations are of you. Like, it's one thing if, that cool guy did it, but what if I did it? What if Alex did it? Would this line up with people's expectations of who Alex is? Or would they go, oh, Alex is trying to act cool, right? When you start managing their expectations. In other words, every time you try and minimize the risk of some kind of a social repercussion, you're not trusting yourself. That's the opposite of self-trust. And another way of looking at this, a shorthand for this, is anytime there's a fear, anytime a fear comes up, when you let fear have a seat at the decision-making table for your life, you're in trouble. So what you really need to do is notice these things, and that's the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do, is notice when you're doing things out of fear or out of trying to manage other people's expectations of you or avoid looking bad, because that's when you really get into trouble. It's the opposite of self-trust. What you want to start doing is notice it, and the next step is notice it and then ignore it. Here's the rule of thumb. The decisions you make and the actions you take should be sourced in self-trust and your personal choice as an expression of your own masculine freedom. It sounds kind of complicated, but here's how you actually do that. Whenever you have a decision to make or an action that you want to take, you just hold it up to your heart. Hold the decision itself up to your heart. And then decide, is this really something that I want to do as an expression of my freedom? Or is this something that I want to do to please other people? And what usually happens is you feel the difference. You feel that there are things that are really part of your true intention, what your heart really wants. And you also feel when things are like there's this thing that you want, but you've diminished it a step. You've processed it through the chattering mind of all the inner dialogue of all the things that could go wrong. And what you want to start to do is make your life choices and take actions from a place prior to that process of thinking through it. And it sounds irrational. It sounds like, well, of course, I want to think rationally first. And, you know, sometimes like when you're trying to decide whether or not to buy a car, I mean, that may come into play. But usually 9 times out of 10, when we start engaging the rational mind in important decisions in our life, we're doing really one of two things. We're either justifying it so that we can, make it make sense when other people ask, well, why'd you buy that car? You go, well, no, it was really a practical decision. It probably wasn't. It was a decision you made out of emotion anyway. Or we get into this fear cycle. We look for all the things that could go wrong, and then we don't do the thing that really is true to our heart, and we live a diminished, smaller life. The truth is, you can actually trust your heart with these decisions. You don't actually have to think about it too much. And the reason why is that you already have a pretty good basis of like the dumb shit you shouldn't do, like, jump out of a bridge or climb into the cage with a lion at the zoo. I mean, your heart is never going to steer you in a stupid direction like that. It's never going to happen. What you ultimately want to cultivate is that deep gut instinct of what's the right course for you. And the more you think through the options, the more you begin to feel like you're making some kind of a safer choice. But the fact is, shit's going to go wrong either way. And that's a really, really important thing. Shit's going to go wrong whether you do what it is you really want to do, whether you step into your masculinity and you make a choice from personal freedom, your freedom as a man, or you make a choice based on what everybody else is going to think, based on not getting into trouble, not making waves. Things are going to go wrong either way. That's the nature of life. Shit goes wrong. But it's either going to be stuff goes wrong while you're doing that which is smaller and diminished and to please others, or shit can go wrong while you were on your honest course. And there's a profound difference in who you are as you're cleaning those messes up. And you are much, much more powerful if you're really operating from what's true for you as a man. Here's a little trick that can give you some profound access to what I'm talking about right now. And it's basically to remember the simple fact that you are going to die. That regardless of what you do, regardless of all your victories, regardless of the wins and losses in your life, in the end, you're going to give all of it up. You get to keep none of it. And so everything that happens in your life, everything that's happened so far, and particularly, and I'd like you to really focus in on this, everything that happens to you from this day forward, all of the experiences you have in your life are just that. They're the experiences that you had in your life. And there were other possible experiences that you could have had, but you didn't, and you won't. The decisions you make will simply determine which experiences you have. And the idea that one experience is right and one is wrong is an illusion. You literally, when you trust yourself, you literally cannot be wrong. Whatever happens is simply the experience that happens in your life. That's the experience that you get. Now, you can't know what it's going to be in advance. The future is notoriously difficult to predict. Of all things that you would like to predict, the future is the hardest. The future simply is. It is going to be what it's going to be. And so based on your actions, you may get a glorious victory or you may get a crushing defeat. But the important thing isn't whether you win or lose. The important thing isn't whether you get pleasure or pain. The important thing is that you made your decision, did what you wanted to do that was a true reflection of yourself as a man, and then got the experience that you were going to get. And all experiences are those things that make up your life. And your life is, no matter what you do, in other words, if you play it safe, if you do the safest possible thing and you please everybody else, you take a poll of everybody, you say, what would be the safest thing to do? What would be the least humiliating thing to do? How could I do this in a way that I couldn't possibly look bad? Guess what? You still can't predict the future. You still may suffer a crushing defeat or a glorious victory. The difference is, even in glorious victory, it wasn't yours. And in crushing defeat, it wasn't yours. Tragedies happen. Tragedies happen. It's part of being a human. You will cry in this life. You will lose friends and family. People will die. You will get sick. Like really difficult things happen in every human's life. And glorious things happen in every human life. The trick is knowing that you can't avoid having bad things happen and realize that just the act of owning the things that you do is what creates a life of great satisfaction and power. And any decision you make from your true heart, from a place of self-trust, from a place of freedom, masculine freedom, is by definition the right choice. It's the right choice because it's your choice. And if you're trying to make your choice and you go with what you actually think, then of course it's right, by definition. It's the right choice because it's your choice. It's the only choice you could make. And trust yourself. Now, the action step here is to get busy making as many choices as you can. Don't put stuff off. Really get into the habit of making choices based on your truth. Now, there's a thought process that evaluates risks in our lives that's preloaded in. Like I said, your heart's not going to go, gee, what I really want to do is jump off a bridge today. That's not what's going to happen. What does happen, though, is you're going to have gut instincts about the things that you want to do, and you want to pay attention to those and get to them prior to the chattering monkey mind bringing all of its worries and, oh, I can't do that, or that just wouldn't be me, and all that silly shit. And if you can't get it prior to that process, then at least notice the process and try and take a knife to it, pare it away, get beneath all of that chatter, and try and find what's really true for you as a man. Stop being so careful. Trust me, no matter how careful you are, you're going to die anyway. You are going to die anyway. No amount of careful is going to prevent that. Stop being so careful, stop being so reasonable, and start living with passion. You want to cultivate the ability to actually catch yourself in the act of worrying, catch yourself in the act of working through the possibilities and of what other people will think. And then when you catch yourself in the act, go back, take that decision and hold it up to your heart again, hold it up, and then trust your true freedom, trust your intuition, trust your gut prior to that mind chatter, and stop considering how it's going to play out in front of other people. Step 2, whatever outcomes do come up, whatever outcomes you get, whatever experiences life serves you, based on those authentic, true decisions that you know you made from self-trust, begin to understand that they are perfect. What I want you to do is practice the deep knowing, the truth of this. I'm going to say something true now. And I want you to practice the deep knowing of the truth of this statement, that whatever experiences you get in life because of decisions you made from a place of deep self-trust are perfect because you can never know what would have happened if you had done something else. If you had done the safe thing, you cannot know how things would have come out. You could play the dumb game of, oh, I should have done the safe thing, because if I had done that, then none of this would have happened. You can play that game, but you need to remember that that game is bullshit, that you can't know what would have happened, that things could have come out far worse, or things may have come out, yeah, this problem didn't happen in your life, but you never really got to know yourself as a man. You never really got to grow up and claim your full masculine identity and step into the man you know that you can be. You'll be living as less than. You'll be living as Mr. Safe Guy forever. What life experience would you have gotten if you had made the smaller choice? Who knows? Things could go out well or bad, but those things don't exist. Right? You got what was yours and nobody else's. And then what begins to happen as you practice this, of really like whatever experience you get, validating it is like, I made my choice, I trusted myself. This came from a place of deep self-trust, my own masculine freedom, I made this choice, and I acknowledge that it is what's right for me, it's what's perfect for me. As you begin to do this, you begin to enjoy your journey through life in a totally new way, because you begin to enjoy it not at the level of waiting to see like what you win or what you lose, or I'm happy if I make this amount of money, and if I make less now I'm not happy, or I have to get this or that girl, or whatever it is that your goals are. Instead of like waiting for the recognition, what begins to happen is you begin to enjoy life at its own level for the experiences that are yours. And your life begins to arise as pure experience and the enjoyment of living itself. You're actually not enjoying a particular thing, like I have to get chocolate ice cream or it wasn't any good. I have to go to my favorite restaurant or it wasn't any good. I have to get that girl or it wasn't any good. I have to succeed in this business or it wasn't any good. That's stuff that if then idea about happiness goes out the window and you begin to enjoy living as the enjoyment of the process of living. When you begin to become consistent with these two steps, when you're consistent with making decisions from your true self-trust and never questioning or second-guessing the life experiences that you get the pleasure of living into as a consequence of decisions and actions taken through true self-trust, then you will get to experience what true masculine freedom is all about. And you'll begin living the fullest and most powerful and attractive expression of yourself as a man. And your friends will feel it, your coworkers will feel it, women in your life will feel it, and you'll feel it. And you begin to really enjoy life at a new level. So I really hope that you take this on. This has been a huge, huge distinction for me in my life. It's something that is very, very frightening to do, to really step into your masculinity and really start acting like the man that you know you can be. You know you can be, but you're constantly hesitant. You're constantly putting off becoming that man. Face the fear and just practice these two steps. I think you're going to discover that it's going to completely change your life and really make you feel like a man in your own bones and profoundly affect your sex life, your relationship with women, and your relationship with your male peers as well. Good luck with it. I really think you're going to enjoy this journey, and I hope you take it on. Now, if this was interesting to you and you enjoy learning this type of thing, I have a bunch of other distinctions like this, some really cool stuff that goes beyond just the stuff that I teach in my Revolutionary Sex program that's really all about being better in bed. Got a ton of this stuff in another program that I have called Passionate Lover, Passionate Life, and I invite you to check it out. What I've done is, I had it in my head that I haven't run a sale on it in a long, long time, and I generally run a special on this particular program about once a year. It's actually been a little more than a year. So that's why I'm running the sale, and I just wanted to give you a little taste of the kinds of things that I'm teaching inside that program. They're a lot more advanced than the stuff in Revolutionary Sex. The program itself is badass. It's by far the best thing I've done. It's the most expensive program I offer for a reason. I think it frankly should be much more expensive, but I make it cheaper because I want it to be accessible to more men. It's basically divided into 3 parts. There's a part on how to be a more passionate lover, which deals directly with this kind of stuff, these issues that are deep, deep issues in you and your identity, and being a more passionate man in order to really blow your woman's mind in ways that are much, much profound, much, much more profound than a simple physical technique or a lovemaking technique. The second part of the program is about how to have more passionate relationships. And if you're actually married or in a long-term relationship, this is going to make a significant difference in your life. But even if you're just dating and you want to have relationships that are really juicy and fundamentally powerful, and you want women to really get you as a man and fall for you as a man and really have the opportunity to make any woman you meet into a relationship because you're standing out from other men, really understand how to operate at a higher level in relationship with women, at a passionate level, and really juicy, not just some boring, everybody else's boring marriage. If you really want to create something powerful and special, that's what that section is. And the final section of the program is called Passionate Life, and it's me and a bunch of top experts, people who are my mentors, people that I admire, talking about how to step into a more significant life, a more powerful life, a life of more pleasure and possibly a life of more pain, a life of a little bit edgier, a little more dangerous, but a life fully lived so that when you get to the end, and you will get to the end, you don't look back with any kind of regret. This program is really about regret-proofing your life, your relationships, and your sex life. And it's important to me. It's a really important program to me, and I think that if you get a hold of it, it's going to be important for you. Now, if this isn't the right time for you, I understand completely, but it is on sale right now. I'm only going to do this for a couple of days, and I probably won't do it again for a year. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, click the little button below to get more information. It's going to take you to a page where I basically talk about all the stuff that's in the program so you can decide if it's something you want to try. I'll just tell you up front that, of course, it's guaranteed for 60 days like everything else that I do. And like I said, if it's not a good time for you, not a big deal. But if this is something that interests you, I really strongly recommend that you at least click over for more information and consider getting it while it's on this special. The content is amazing. I add more content to it periodically because it is my life's passion, really, to teach this stuff. And I hope that you will take me up on this offer and go check it out.